Give me the key.
Mister.
Don't mister me, you son of a bitch. My wife is locked up in a hole in your fucking barn. And if you don't give me the key, I'm gonna blow your fucking head off!
Lauren, what's going on?
I don't know, honey. Just stay calm.
Your husband's a murderer and a kidnapper is what's going on. Now give me the fucking key!
Freeze, mister.
Hello, hello. I'm Katie, and welcome to Retromade, your pop culture rewind. Today, we travel back to 1997, May to be exact, for another road thriller, but this time with our everyman Kurt Russell in Breakdown. And of course, we will open the time capsule so we can get into the 1997 frame of mind. If you're watching on YouTube, please make sure to hit the subscribe button below this video if you haven't already. And if you're listening to the audio and enjoying the show, please help the show grow by taking a moment to leave a review, and preferably a 5-star one if you can. Thank you so much. Now, today is a first. We have a team that is an actual movie-making duo. Instead of just me not knowing anything about movie making, we have some pros here. Bill Band and Jason Masick from All 80s Movies podcast. That's a show that actually grew out of the pandemic when the movie production was shut down. And so they actually previously wrote 2 award-winning short films, and Jason starred. Bill, Jason, thank you so much for joining me. Please tell us all about your show.
Yeah, so name of our show is the All 80s Movies Podcast, and it's a podcast that talks about the blockbusters, the flops, and everything in between from 80s films. And the reason we picked that is Jason and I met in film school in the early 90s, and that was really the movies that made us love movies and made us want to get into trying to make movies. So when the pandemic happened, everything shut down, and we couldn't do any projects at the time, I came to Jason like, hey, why don't we do a podcast? I mean, most of the time when we get together after we were finished talking about upcoming projects and stuff, we would just talk about movies all the time. So I thought this would just be a great venue to share our love for 80s films.
Yeah, 100%. And again, thank you so much, Katie, for having us on your show. We're both fans. And yes, we like to think of ourselves as the everymen of 80s movies podcasts. But for
Love
sure,
it.
we did have, I guess, somewhat typical beginnings in that a lot of film fans will do roundtable discussions among their friends. And that's where a lot of these things spawn from. But it is just inevitable when our friends get together that we go back in time and we go back to the films that shaped us and got us into the entertainment industry, if you will. And it was the 80s was a really, really magical time for us, a time of innovation, extreme imagination, and discovery. And so it's just, that's our decade. That's our inspiration. And for us, we do cover all of these movies from the 80s, but we really do like to do the more niche type of films, the smaller films that, might strike a nerve mentally, emotionally, maybe physically even, but to go back to that time to remember where we were, who we were with, it's really nostalgia heavy. So we do get into some of the feels, if you will, a little bit with this, which is something we just really enjoy doing.
We're all about nostalgia here. And despite your focusing on the 80s, we're actually covering a 90s movie today.
I think that's the one thing we love about being a guest on other shows. Is that we get, hey, we don't have to do an 80s movie. That's fine. We can talk outside our decade. That's great.
Well, let's open that time capsule from May of 1997. So May was kind of ending the 96 to 97 TV season. So the top Nielsen rated shows for that particular season, we have ER, Seinfeld, Suddenly Susan. Do you guys remember that show with Brooke Shields?
Sure. I
Susan?
remember it. Yeah, I didn't watch it, to be honest.
I do vaguely, and I want to say that Bender from The Breakfast Club was like her boss in it. What's
Judd
Oh,
Nelson.
yeah, that's right. That's right.
I totally forgot. He was definitely, he was on that show. That's right.
Yeah. hmm Of course, Friends. We can't have a top 90s season without Friends. The Naked Truth, which was that show with Taya Leone. I don't think it lasted very long, but it was like the number 5 show that season.
Wow.
Like a newspaper reporter.
Totally forgot about that
or
one.
Something.
Yeah, I remember seeing her the first time in Bad
And
Boys and being like, who is that?
Yeah, same here.
Oh, I loved her. Oh my gosh, I loved Taya Leone. But yeah, Bad Boys for me too.
Yeah.
There was a show that I'm curious if you guys are familiar with it. I was not. And it apparently lasted for 2 seasons on NBC called Fired Up. Does it sound
Fired
ringing
Up?
a bell at all?
The title sounds familiar.
It starred Sharon Lawrence, and she plays a self-centered promotions exec, and Leah Remini before King of Queens. And she was the mouthy assistant, which that's perfect for Leah. And they get fired from their jobs, and then they team up to create an equal partner business. It also had Mark, pronouncing his name incorrectly, Feuerstein, and Jonathan Banks.
Oh, wow. Cool. Jonathan Banks.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Big fan of his.
Yeah.
Yeah, not
Me
familiar.
too.
I have no
Breaking
idea what that show
Bad.
is about. I've never
Yeah.
heard of it. Yeah.
Okay. Me neither. But it somehow, it was like the number 1 to 7 show.
All right. It had
The
its
Single
moment.
Guy, too. Yeah, The Single Guy had its moment as well. And then Home Improvement.
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
Touched by an Angel, which I never watched, but that must have been a pretty big show.
Yeah. I
That's
think
one that you would always hear about in popular culture. I mean, you
Yeah.
couldn't avoid it. You couldn't avoid the title alone, but I also was not involved in that one. I just didn't watch it. Just wasn't, part of my.
was that
Yeah, it's not my jam either.
Sunday nights?
Go ahead, Bill.
Was that Sunday nights? That was kind of like
Ooh,
counter
maybe.
programming to football kind of show.
Yes, and I think it's probably geared towards women.
Yeah.
So that totally tracks. And then also NYPD Blue was like the last rounding out our top rated. But there were some notable finales. Roseanne, this was its final
Oh,
season.
wow. Sure.
I loved Roseanne, but yeah, the final season wasn't its best for sure. I think, is that when they won the lottery?
Oh, yeah. They won the lottery. And then
They had.
you find out that, what was it? John Goodman's character. Sorry, spoiler
was dead
alert.
the whole
Yeah.
time? Yeah. Yeah, spoiler.
Yeah, spoiler alert.
Yeah,
For some
Dan
reason, you
dies.
have not watched the show at this point.
But then he somehow comes back or something because they have the new series, The Connors, now.
Right.
Yeah.
I was just going to ask about that. Yeah. What the status of that show was now, because weren't there a couple of iterations? They brought it back, but is Roseanne no longer on the show or she's still on?
No,
She is not.
Right.
got
She
So I think
fired.
that-
had to leave.
Yeah.
Right. There's the whole
Yeah.
thing. And okay.
Yep,
Right.
yep.
But John Goodman's still doing it.
correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's incredible. Awesome.
I love John Goodman.
Oh,
yeah. He's just like all-American guy. The last year for Coach and also Married with Children. I don't think I realized that Married with Children lasted.
Oh, yeah.
It must have been 10 years
Yeah.
then.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. Long running show. That's one I only had a relationship to in syndication, it seems. I mean, it was just, I only watched reruns on different channels, whatever was available. I had a weird relationship. And then it was just so odd to think it was still on, like it was still airing new episodes. It's just one of those weird things. I felt like it was dated. It was something from another time, but it was still happening at that time.
Yeah. And you got to give props to
Yeah, there's a few examples of that.
Ed O'Neill. I mean, he on that show, and then he does Modern Family that also has an amazing run. I mean, most actors would kill to have that kind of career. Just have 2 outstanding, long-running. The checks he must be still bringing in from doing that. He doesn't have to work another day in his life.
Very good point. And so he had that long run, and then it was sort of like, whatever happened to Ed O'Neill? And then he's back with Modern Family. Now, what I feel like I read, somebody please correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like I read that Craig T. Nelson from Coach was originally offered that role, but he turned it down, or he wanted more money than they were willing to pay.
Oh, I didn't hear about that.
And then they offered it to Ed O'Neill.
Crossover there. I was also going
Yeah.
to say, if you ever get a chance to hear any interview with Ed O'Neill I listened to him on a separate podcast, and that guy has some life experience. He's a badass. You wouldn't want to go
Ed
against,
O'Neill?
Ed O'Neill, absolutely. But that's interesting with T. Nelson. Always been a fan. Love that show, Coach.
Mhm.
Didn't know
Yeah,
that
it's
he
funny.
was up for.
All those shows that you mentioned, that was our last year. I think I watched maybe the first 2 or 3 seasons, and then just kind of they all petered off for me. I don't think I made it to the end of any of it. Well, no, yeah, even Married with Children. I held on for a long time, but yeah, I even stopped watching that one too.
Yeah, me too. The only one that I watched all of those was Roseanne. And I still watch that show. But then so those ended this season, and then we get a whole crop of, it's a different feel at this time. Some notable premieres. We have Third Rock from the Sun, which I think is a very smart show. I've seen some reruns recently. And
Me
I'm like,
too.
They were doing some cool things.
Yeah, it was bizarre. John Lithgow was so over the top. I mean, I think he won a couple of Emmys for that role, I believe, as
that
best
sounds
actor.
right.
Yeah, and you had a young Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Right.
And-
I always forget that
yeah.
he was on that show. Is it
Yeah.
French Stewart
Yeah.
that's also on that show?
Yeah, French Stewart. Yeah,
French
that was
Stewart and Sally was Kirsten Johnson.
Yeah.
And she, did you guys ever see the show on like TV Land or something called The X's?
No.
It had one of the guys from Scrubs. Both those guys are recently in the T-Mobile commercial too.
Yeah,
right
Zach
now.
Braff, and I can't think
Oh.
of the other gentleman's name.
Yeah, it's not Zach Braff. The other one is in The X's. Wayne Knight is also in it.
Oh, sure.
Wow.
But it's great. I actually really like The X's, but Kirsten is in that as well. And I'm a fan of hers. I like her a lot.
Yeah,
Heck
she
yeah.
was fun in that one too. That was lightning in a bottle. Yeah, you had Jane Curtin in it also. So
Oh, yeah.
from with Saturday Night Live, one of the original, and
She
there's
was.
some funny stuff in that. They had some great cameos with some people also.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was a fun show.
For such an outlandish concept, it was really well written. And obviously, I mean, it
Yeah.
was a big award winner. I mean, it's won, like it. I apologize if you'd mentioned that already, but it won several
No.
Emmys, if I'm not mistaken, right? And Lithgow, of course.
Well, I'm glad
So,
to hear it.
yeah.
I think they're well deserved.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Some other new shows. Seventh Heaven was this year. Access Hollywood.
Oh wow.
And E! True Hollywood Story. So that kind of a thing was like, I don't know. There was a lot of that type of show being, incarnated.
The tabloid TV
At
show.
the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, tabloids.
Yeah.
Show, yep.
I really liked E! True Hollywood Story.
Yeah, they really
And
do have
Love
some
Line.
Love Lines. That sounds
Love Line
familiar.
with Dr.
Drew?
Drew. Yeah. On MTV.
Oh yeah,
so,
that's what
like,
it was.
It's
Yep.
like very late 90s.
Mm.
Let's see. We have the Jamie Foxx show, Judge Judy, the Rosie O'Donnell show, which I remember she threw those koosh balls at the audience. It was a talk show.
Sure. And I have to
And,
mention
that's-
here too, as well. Sorry to interrupt, but I actually
No.
myself, yours truly, made an appearance on the Judge Judy show.
You did not.
I did. It's insane.
Were you a plaintiff or a defendant?
I was a plaintiff. I was
okay.
a plaintiff.
Please tell us about this.
It's
my
so
I love this
difficult.
one.
It's so funny. So in 97, especially I just moved out to LA in late 95. So now it's going on 2 years that I've been in Los Angeles, being a young, hopefully upcoming actor. And I had a couple of roommates, one being my friend Brian, who was also an actor. And then our third roommate seemed to be in rotation. And at this particular point, we had a female roommate, and which started off as a good relationship. And then what ended up happening was, well, let me just set the stage, is that my roommate, Brian, had a double yellowhead African Amazon parrot. And those birds.
Oh God, I thought you were going to say snake for a second.
right.
I'm like, oh my God, I'm so glad.
That would have made for a great
I'm so
story
glad
too.
you said parrot.
But this parrot, so it was in a cage, but sometimes he would let the parrot out. And these particular parrots are fascinating birds, and they mimic and they do the voices, and they're really funny. He would mimic conversation, and it would be really eerie. However, the parrot was very possessive of its owner. So if anyone else came near, the parrot would attack, actually, and you didn't want to be on the wrong end of that. So at one point, I'm going to actually cut to the chase here. Our third roommate, our female roommate, disappeared on us, and she ditched us holding the bag with the not paying the rent and the bills. So we went to small claims court to see if there was anyone that could find her. We would, we had little information on her whereabouts, try to track her down for this money owed. And that's, unbeknownst to us, that's how Judge Judy, at the time at least, got their guests on the show, was they went through the small claims court cases in LA or wherever, major markets, I would assume, and they contact us and they say, hey, do you want your 15 seconds of fame? And we're like, yeah, we're actors. Of course, we want to go on TV, especially Judge Judy, who's such a big personality herself in a well-known show. So sure enough, they got a hold of our roommate that we were trying to track down, and she agreed to be on the show as the defendant, and we went on, and it was a whole thing. And the reason why I brought up the parrot in the first place is because that episode of Judge Judy ends up mainly being about the parrot. The parrot becomes the star of the show because that's good television. And our female roommate was complaining that the parrot had attacked her, and this was one of the many reasons why she moved out without notice, etc. Anyway, it was a long thing, but kind of a claim to fame for myself and my friend Brian, and her, our female roommate, as well, as I assume. But I have it still on VHS. I need to transfer it to more modern.
What was the verdict? What did Judge Judy have to say?
We didn't get the rent, but we got the bills that were owed us. So we did get some money out of it. And I think our roommate, the plaintiff, the defendant, I think she actually got paid $100 just for being on TV, which is hilarious. So she got something out of it, but it ended up making for good television. Yeah, it was crazy.
What does the timeline look like for something like that? When you file your small claims, and then how long after that did you hear from the show? And then how long after that were you on?
It must have happened probably within a couple of months. It was not very long. It was not very long at all. It probably was less than that, probably a month. But it was fun being, on the lot and in the studio, and being in the green room and getting prepped by the producers. And they were telling us, okay, so you have to address her as Your Honor. She is actually, or was, a judge. And so she's a professional. And yes, this is television. So don't be afraid to, play up some of the facts of the case a little bit. We're also about the entertainment. And sure enough, Judge Judy she's a huge personality, and she's a force to be reckoned with. And if we got anything out of it, she really let the defendant, our female roommate, have it in the middle of the show.
Good.
So we're like, okay, that's good enough for us. Even if we didn't get all the money we felt we were owed.
What a great story.
She's a trip. Judge Judy, she's incredible. She's a sharp lady. Yeah.
I feel like I've recently heard an audio ad that she's got a new incarnation of the show.
Wouldn't be surprised. It was a huge show. People love Judge Judy.
What's old is new again.
Isn't that the truth, Bill? Yeah. Let's see. The only other, do you guys remember there being a show with just Mrs. and Mr. Huxtable that just called Cosby? It was just Cliff and Claire.
Oh, yes, I do remember that show, but yeah, I didn't watch that one at all. Yeah. Yeah, I think the big show that came out for me that year was Millennium, which was created by Chris Carter, who did X-Files. And it starred Lance Henriksen as a special investigator for some crazy, crazy dark case. It is a very, very dark show. And it was kind of funny. I was not a fan of X-Files. It was on Fox. It was on Friday. Okay. It was on Friday nights. And that was a reason for me to stay home Friday, was to watch this show. It only lasted to 3 seasons because it was supposed to be about the whole apocalypse and the ending of everything because the millennium was going to hit. The show didn't even last long enough to make it on there. And Terry O'Quinn, who would go on to be Lost, he was also on it. And I never watched the final. Yeah. I have all 3 seasons, but I still haven't watched the final one yet. But the first 2 seasons were dark, really dark and cool. Yeah. He was kind of like an ex-FBI profiler who gets called into this group, the Millennium Group.
Oh, I like that stuff.
Yeah. You should check it out. The dark cases. Yes.
Millennium. I will check that out. I'm always looking for a new show to binge. Kind of prescient. The Daily Show premieres this year. And the reason I bring that up as being prescient is because Jon Stewart's back.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think Craig Kilborn was the first host for 1 year. And then it was Jon Stewart. Right?
That sounds
that's right.
right. And I remember being a Craig Kilborn fan because of SportsCenter. And he had the look and he had the personality and the one-liners. Then he left to do his own thing. And I forgot that he did the Daily Show, though, because then he had his own show. I mean, he had his own late night
show, right? Yeah.
Craig Kilborn show.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah. I think that's right. I could be wrong. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Spin City was also premiering this.
Yeah, Michael J. Fox.
97. And The Crocodile Hunter with Steve Irwin.
Oh, man. Yeah.
He's passed away.
Boy.
I do remember watching that.
Yeah, that was one of the,
sure.
God, he was
Being
all
what are you
over the
doing?
place. But I
What are
think
you
if you
doing?
asked anyone if they ever watched the show, if someone said they saw more than one episode, I would be impressed. But everybody knew who he was. Everybody knew the show, but I didn't know anybody that watched the show.
It is one
He
of
was
those.
such a personality. He was great.
Mhm.
And then just
he
the
was-
way he tragically passed, that was just terrible.
It was.
Yeah, that was very sad. But the show was huge. And what a great personality and the voice and the whole thing. And speaking of 1997, we have South Park, which also even made Steve Irwin more famous because of their parody of him and the
I
voice.
totally forgot about that.
And South Park from the little research I've done here, I think South Park did it premiere. I mean, it was big in 97. I think it may have started in 97.
Yeah, it started in 97. Yeah, I remember flipping through the channels and stopping on the show, and it was the premiere episode. And I was like, what is this? And I was laughing hysterically. And then I went back to work and just told everybody about the show. I'm like, oh my God, you gotta watch the show. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. And I'm like, it's a cartoon. It's animated. I can't believe the things that are coming out of these kids' mouths. And it just took off immediately.
Yeah. Speaking of the South Park, so those guys, have you guys heard of Casa Bonita
Oh, gosh.
in Denver?
That's so interesting you bring that up. It's so wild. I just recently heard about this whole thing, not knowing of it, but I believe I heard it on, again, because I listen to podcasts all day that well, please tell us the story, but aren't they owners or part owners now of that?
Yeah. So it was, I don't know if it actually closed. I had never been to it before. So listeners, Casa Bonita is this landmark restaurant, a scenic attraction. Like they had cliff divers and they're notorious for the food being really horrible, but that's not why you go. It's hard to explain. Nobody really knows what it is and you have to go to experience it. And then it got really run down. Everybody's, oh, it's horrible. It's horrible. Well, the Trey Parker and
Matt Stone.
Matt
Stone.
Stone, the creators of South Park, bought it because they're from Colorado. There's actually a place here called South Park. And it's obviously set in South Park, Colorado. They bought it and redid it. And it's really awesome. I was able to go and I can't explain it. You just have to experience it. And the food is pretty decent now.
I got to check this out because I'm going to Boulder often. And when last time I was there over Christmas, I was going downtown and that had totally skipped my mind. But I did a little research on that when I had heard about it. And it looks like a extravaganza. It looks pretty awesome.
It's still really hard to get in. There was like a lottery system for a while.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, Casa Bonita, if anybody comes to Denver. Shall we move on to the top billboards? in terms of music from May of 1997.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go for it.
The very week. So just as a reminder, this is the billboards that we talk about are week over week. So this is the week of May 2nd. They're really, the 90s I feel more than the 80s because at this time I'm I'm at the end of my sophomore year of high school. So this is like prime music.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, this is right in your wheelhouse.
Biggie. Yeah. So that's the number one song. Really, really good. And I do remember that being big. And then Same Alley, Puff Daddy featuring Mace has the number 2 song with Can't Nobody Hold Me Down.
Wow.
And then very different from that is the number 3 song with Jewel, Foolish Games / You Were Meant for Me. What a monster song that was.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Jewel.
I haven't thought about Jewel in so long. And all of a sudden, I don't know if it was on TikTok or Instagram or some sort of reel, she popped up. I'm like, oh, of course, Jewel was so huge back in the day. And I always found her very attractive, even when she had the teeth going on, that kind of smile. But I just thought she was always beautiful and had the voice. And now I'm driving a rental car and it has XM Sirius radio. And I've been listening to the Pop Rocks, which is all 90s. And I can't get it.
Nice.
Jewel is playing constantly. All of a sudden. Like
all
this all happened in the last week. I haven't thought about or heard Jewel in forever. And now I'm getting tons of Jewel.
Oh, yeah.
Including
her
right
story
here.
was such a big thing. That, the songwriter who was sleeping in her car.
Yeah, was she homeless?
Yep.
Yeah.
And then just turned it around
Yeah,
and
I
had
do
the
remember
number 1 album. And I think everyone owned that album at some point. It was huge. It was huge. And then, yeah, it's like, where did she go? Just like for me musically, because coming in the early 90s is when, we were in college together. That was like the grunge era. So we were really into the grunge thing. And then it was such this big shift at that point with the music thing that I don't think I crossed over as much. I was still more like hanging on to the latest albums for, Collective Soul or Live or something like that. So I think I was in my mid 20s. Yeah. So yeah, I was still the transition thing with the Puff Daddy and like my roommate would have loved that stuff. My old roommate would have loved that stuff. But yeah, I was still kind of trying to hang on to the white rock groups at the time.
I can see that, but you're right about there being a big shift from early 90s to mid and late 90s. Hip hop was huge then, as a lot of things were, but I was really into Mace,
so you were the perfect
Tupac,
age for all that. Yeah, you were the perfect age for all that stuff because that's really when your biggest music influences happen when you're in high school, going into college. You listen to all that Billboard stuff, and the only reason I listen to modern pop now is just because of my kids. Because every time in the car, they want to listen to what's current. So that's the only reason why I know any artist that's out right now is because of them. Like they have to teach me all this stuff.
Yeah, I think I'm going to grow old quickly because I don't have children to keep me with the young references. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I liked it's all over the map with Puffy, Biggie, Jewel. Monica has the number 4 song with For You I Will, which apparently was from Space Jam. I actually never saw that.
Wow.
And then the next 2, again, all over the place. Savage Garden has the number 5 song with I Want You. And you guys know that song, right?
I'd know it if I heard it. I'm sure I've been listening to it.
Yeah. Very Savage Garden-y. And then Spice Girls.
Oh, yeah.
Spice Girls.
I think this is maybe when they Wannabe. And that might have been their first hit. It was the number 6 song.
Yep, Spice Girls. Oh, yeah.
They were big for several years.
Oh, yeah. Big time. Oh, yeah.
And then, do you guys remember being at a club or something and hearing Return of the Mac?
Oh, sure.
By Mark Morrison. I always thought that was like early 90s, but apparently it was 97 because it was the number 7 song.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's kind of funny when you hear some of those old songs and you think it's been around forever and you're like, oh, no, it's only from then.
Mm-hmm.
It's not out that long ago. And yeah, that song kind of has that feel that it's been around longer than it actually was. I mean, granted, 97 is a long time ago, but
Yeah. No, it was only like 10 years ago, you guys.
It's last week.
The name of the group of the number 8 song, I feel like I've never heard the group, but we know the song. The song is called Hard to Say I'm Sorry. It's by As Yet, A-Z space Y-E-T, featuring Peter Cetera.
So,
It's like,
yeah,
hold me now. It's hard for me
Chicago.
to say I'm sorry.
Yeah. it's the
Right.
Chicago
So Peter
song.
Cetera. Yeah. So Peter Cetera was the
Yeah.
lead singer.
Cetera,
That's right.
right.
Yeah.
So
Lead singer.
they
It's
must
just like
is
the
it a-
hip hop version.
It's a remix reboot of that song then with both of them on the track, I assume. I'm trying to think if I've heard that.
Yes, that's right. Good. I was like, why does that sound so familiar? But it's a great rendition.
Everybody needs a little time away. I heard her say from each other.
I didn't even track initially that it was a remake or a whatever you call it.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
it's
love
like-
that song. I have Chicago's greatest hits. That's a great CD, by the way. And whether it's with Peter Cetera in the band or not, because I think he left after some time.
Mm.
But love that band. But I can hear the song in my head.
And then Paula Cole, Where Have All the Cowboys Gone? Was number 9.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Believe this was a one-hit wonder, but it was huge.
Yeah. You still hear that one a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's kind of funny how that whole list, that's the one I'm like, oh, I still hear that song all the time.
From a genre perspective, it's all over the place.
It is.
So like the 90s were, I guess every decade is a little wild, but the number 10 song made me laugh because at first I didn't recognize it, but then I looked it up. It's called My Baby Daddy, and it's by B-Rock and the Biz. Do you know what song I'm talking about?
I would have to hear that one.
I just want you to say that again. I just want you to read that again because that was really funny. Yeah.
And I will sing it. I cannot sing, and listeners are used to my attempts. It's called My Baby Daddy by B-Rock and the Biz. And it goes, who that is? That's just my baby daddy. Who that is? That's just my baby daddy. The whole, that's the whole song.
That's good enough.
Does that sound
was
familiar? Do
amazing.
you guys
No,
remember
I have
this?
no idea. No.
No.
It's like a guy saying who that is and a girl saying, that's just my baby daddy.
Wow.
That's just my baby daddy. That's just my baby. Ray.
Number 10 song in May of 1997, you guys.
I got to find a 90s station after this just to find some of these songs. This is, yeah, most of this was just not in my
I had
wheelhouse at
forgotten
the
that
time. Yeah.
existed. Some news and events to make us back in 97 before we get into the movie. This was when Tony Blair was elected prime minister of the UK in May 97.
All right. Yeah. Taking over for Margaret
Now,
Thatcher,
this-
right?
I think so. I found this to be wild as too. I'm always surprised about how long it takes us to progress in society. Tasmania becomes the last state in Australia to decriminalize. Any guesses? What they decriminalize in May of
I
97?
don't even want to know if I.
Yeah. I can't even, I don't want to hazard a guess. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
exactly.
Homosexuality.
Ah.
Wow.
In
Fascinating.
97.
1997.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then I had forgotten about this, but do you remember when Eddie Murphy was all over the news because he got arrested with a transsexual prostitute named
Oh my God. I forgot about that one.
Sayuli?
Yes.
I totally forgot about that.
Yeah.
That was a thing.
Yep. Whenever
And
it's something
then-
like that, my mind goes straight to the Hugh Grant incident for some
Exactly.
reason.
Yes.
Me too.
And
But
when
yeah.
his apology or sort of apology on the talk show, I don't know if that was Jay Leno. It was one of the late night
It was
talk
Jay
shows,
Leno.
But,
Yeah. Because that's when.
that's right. I forgot.
Because that was during the late night wars, and Letterman was killing Leno. And then when Hugh Grant went on the Leno, that's when their ratings reversed. That was the episode.
Yeah, and I don't know
that
what
did it.
It seems all around the same time too, like late 90s. Was this all?
it feels like it. Yeah, I
Or
don't remember exactly when the Hugh Grant incident happened, but he saved a lot of face just by apologizing. Then I remember also, but I had forgotten about the Eddie Murphy issue
I had
as well.
too.
Yeah, that would seem like that kind of be a thing where all of a sudden all these famous people were being caught.
Mhm.
And you had George Michael.
And we
you
didn't
had
even
Grant.
have, I mean, like the cell phones back then, the whole thing. So it was different. I mean, again, just a lot of that tabloid stuff would come out and those things would blow up because that's all we had.
Yeah.
Yeah. And along similar lines, actor Tim Allen was arrested for drunk driving in Michigan. And the reason this was such a huge deal is because he had one of the biggest shows on television at the time as a wholesome
Sure.
dad. You know?
Right. And he
Yeah.
had a checkered past too. So
Yeah, for sure.
yeah. But yeah, I think for me, because I was really big into stand-up comedy in the late 80s and 90s. So when those comedians went on to do shows like Seinfeld, Tim Allen, Drew Carey, those are the shows I always gravitated for because I was just a big fan of their stand-up and just to see how it would transition into television. And it was a while until I knew about Tim Allen's backstory. Yeah. So then, something like that. It's just, it's going to be really big because he's got to really be on his P's and Q's at that point because here he is. He's resurrected his life and his career. And then something like that is a step back. But obviously he was able to overcome because, he's still doing stuff today.
I do recall this being in the news. Australian Susie Maroney becomes the first to swim from Cuba to Florida. I remember that being in the news. Yeah, that was like a whole thing. Free swimming from Cuba to Florida. That's a ways.
Yeah.
Didn't they just do a movie about that recently?
Is
I
that
think
for a
it was
show?
someone else.
A show or a movie? It might be on one of the streaming channels.
There is. It's like Annette Bening plays her,
Yes.
but I think it's a different person.
Oh, okay.
right?
And maybe that was
that's
like the
Naiad.
English channel.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
Naiad,
okay.
yes,
That's
yes,
sorry.
that's with Annette
I got my
Bening
swim.
and Jodie Foster, who's been nominated. I mean, there's Academy Award nominations for that. So Annette Bening's nominated for Best Actress. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. I haven't seen that yet. I'll have to watch it.
Obviously, I
but
did not
right,
either.
so clearly, but different person. I'm trying to recall that
Different person.
because that's
Yeah, I feel like was that the English channel? This was from Cuba to Florida.
right. Which is
Wow.
God, that's is that 90
I
miles,
think.
Bill? Yeah, because
Yes.
we know from
Yeah, we've
being,
been at the southernmost point.
University of Miami, we've gone down to
that's
Key West many a
right.
time.
Yeah,
Go to
and
southernmost
they have
point,
the marker there that says southern, most tip, which I think
Mhm.
someone defaced a couple years ago, and they had to
Aw.
restore it.
Aw.
Yeah, of course, morons.
People
Yep.
screwing up
Yep.
stuff.
Always got to ruin the good things.
Yeah, another awesome lady, American aviator Linda Finch, completes Amelia Earhart's ill-fated attempt around the world flight, May of 97. And also, Russian President Boris Yeltsin signs a historic treaty with NATO. I wonder what that's like. Seems very different from things nowadays.
Oh,
eh?
yeah,
Mm.
exactly. I mean, we grew up during the Cold War, and we were always worried about nuclear strike, and then it seemed like we finally patched things up, and Russia became our allies, and now it's reverted right back the way it was. History repeats itself. Here we go again.
Yes.
Now we got to worry about them again.
Speaking of which, things,
Now,
coming around. Amelia Earhart was back in the news recently. I don't know if you saw this blurb at all, but there's someone flying over taking pictures or I don't know just some deep sea photography and using radar or some sort of device. They may have found her plane.
Yeah, in the last year,
awesome.
it was
Really?
they found the plane. Then another one was they thought they finally found her remains on an island. She's been popping up a
yeah,
lot recently in the news. Yeah.
Interesting.
Strange.
How would they? I guess there's obviously but like it would have been a tiny plane in this big vast ocean, and then her remain. Yeah, I don't know how they know these things.
Yeah. So
I don't know if they were. Yeah, go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, because they were thinking that she maybe survived the crash and then was living on this island.
Oh,
And then she just, because it was in the middle of nowhere, and then she just eventually died.
Oh.
That was maybe like a year ago. But yeah, the plane thing happened recently where they thought they found it. Because forever they've just been trying to project where she was flying, and technology's gotten better and better. But yeah, I did see that they thought maybe they found the plane.
Yeah, and it's crazy because you see the photography or the photograph of the image, and it does look like the shape of the model plane that she was flying, but who knows? And I think it was
That's
by
so
some
cool.
sort of accident that they were scouring that portion of the ocean floor. But anyway, getting off on a tangent.
Wow.
I just thought that was fascinating.
No, I like a tangent myself. So May is a very popular month for weddings. Lots of famous people got married, including Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. He got married in May to future bodybuilder and film producer Danny Garcia, but they did divorce in 2008. And then Taya Leone, who we talked about, married David Duchovny,
Right, I was going to mention
and they
him earlier.
divorced in 2014.
I do have a good rock story I'd love to share is because
There we go.
Ooh.
Dwayne Johnson went to school with us at the University of Miami.
No, like in your class, like your
I think he was a
same,
year
like, year
behind
level?
us. So
Oh,
when
wow.
I went to UM, I worked in the student activities office. And for some reason, he actually would work doing the setup for the building. So if I had a program going on, he would come up and say, "Hey, what do you need?" I'm like, we need this amount of chairs set up for whatever. So he would do the setups for all the stuff we had, which I never understood how that was because I thought athletes weren't allowed to have jobs. But I remember having this conversation with him because I said to him, because he was on the football team at the time. He was a defensive end.
Sure.
And I said, Dwayne, what are you going to do if football doesn't work out? What are your plans? And he goes, "Oh, I'm probably going to get into wrestling." And in the back of my mind, I'm like, wrestling? What? That's how the hell that's going to happen? So I said, "Oh, really? Do you have like connections or anything that could?" And that's when he gave me his like, "Oh yeah, my dad used to wrestle as Rocky Maivia, and his uncles were the Wild Samoans." And he's telling me, I'm like, and I just remembered, well, good luck with that. I hope it works out. And then 2 or 3 years later, I'm flipping through the channels, and what did he start at? He didn't start off as The Rock. I can't remember what his first character was. And there he was on Monday Night Wrestling, and then became one of the biggest.
Oh my.
Yeah. So we have crossed
Was
paths
he-
every once in a while. I bet. Yeah, it's been a long time.
How would you describe him?
Oh, he was
Who he
was
is,
the
how he is.
nicest, quietest guy. So to see his personality, it was like, that's not the person I would talk to. That was not him. He was, but yeah, he was just,
Okay.
nice, sweet man. I would say,
That's good to hear.
kid back then. Because I mean, here we were in our
Kid,
early
yeah.
20s, late teens. But yeah, even
You
back then,
posted
he
a
was a big
photo
guy.
with him recently, didn't you?
Yes, that was in my days with the Miami Dolphins, and he came to visit a game, and yeah, I got a sideline photo with him as my alter
Oh,
ego.
great.
Yeah, as my alter
Yeah.
ego. Because I used to be the
Katie.
mascot.
Oh.
I used to be the mascot for the Miami Dolphins. I did that for 10 years.
I don't think I knew you were the mascot.
Yeah. I don't usually tell people. For the longest time, I never told anybody that I did it, just because I think moving out to California and trying to start a new career, people just wouldn't take you serious.
Yeah.
Oh, you just, you ran around in a costume. And I'm like, no, there was a lot more to it than that. But yeah, that's what I did. And yeah, so he would show up at the training facility every once in a while. And that's where I would see him there. But every time, he'd never remember who I was, that we went to school together or anything like that. But yeah, so I do have a picture of him on the sidelines, like at the height of his WWE wrestling days.
Hmm. That's really cool. And also, I'm very intrigued by the mascot. Do you have to have so much energy to do that?
This is what. So being
He's
in
so
South,
animated
yeah,
and-
being in South Florida, I would say I was usually losing about 3 pounds an hour. So the amount of stamina and just mental toughness you needed to have to get through that, it was a lot.
Yeah.
Like I would, like people, what did you like or dislike about your job? I would say game days were the worst for me, just because we would do 1 o'clock games, because I was there with Jimmy Johnson, and Jimmy Johnson would want those 1 o'clock afternoon games because the other team would just be exhausted by the end of the game, being out in 92 degree with
Not used to it.
98 degree humidity. And so, yeah, so for me on a Sunday, if we had a game, I'd lose about 12 pounds and I would spend the whole rest of the week trying to put that back on. And so,
Oh my God.
yeah, so usually at the beginning of the year, I think I would try to weigh somewhere in the high 190s. And by the end of the season, I was down to 172. And the big joke was during the off season, when all like the staff and stuff would be going on diets, I'd be like eating binge. I'd just eat whatever I can to try to put all this weight back on to get ready for the next year. But I mean, granted, I was still working, doing appearances and stuff like that. But yeah, it's usually about 3 pounds an hour. That's what I would lose. I mean, most of it was
Just
sweat.
from sweating so much?
Yep.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow. That's like wrestlers would be envious of that. I feel like they have to.
Oh, I know. Like
sweat,
people would
right,
tease
to
me all the
make
time.
weight.
Oh, can I put the suit on for an hour? I need to lose 5 pounds. I'm like, no, you don't want to.
Yeah,
I was
same.
like,
I'm
you don't
like,
want to do
oh,
that.
this
You don't want to do
sounds
that. Yeah.
Oh, wild. I almost don't know where to go from
That's
there.
great. Yeah, no,
It's a weird thing. You know, I remember one of my high school teachers talking about how nobody in our grade would ever be like a professional athlete. And I'm like, well, you know, I was a professional mascot, which is even more rare than being a professional athlete. So I don't know. I thought that's kind of cool. It's a good story to have. Like my kids just like
Extremely.
recently found out about that too. And, you know, they're always kind of asking questions. And anytime I see someone in any kind of costume, I definitely feel for them for what they're going through. Cause at least
Yeah.
like my uniform was built for me. So, you know, it was mine. So, you know, I could see, I knew how to move out of it. And when you think about costume characters at amusement parks and stuff like that, that's built for multiple people. So, you know, you got to get used to that sight line. Cause I even know for my costume, like anytime I had to take a step forward, the first thing I always had to do was look down because I would never know if a kid would come out of nowhere. Cause that's something I learned early on. Like a kid would come over to give you a hug and I wouldn't see him. And then next thing you know, they get a knee in the face. But that was something that quickly I was
I
like,
wouldn't have even thought
yeah,
that.
you
Yeah.
got to look down and just, cause you're almost like looking just through a tube. You don't really see enough, but it's funny when I go back and look at memories, it to me, it just seemed normal. Like I could see everything when I really couldn't see anything.
You just got used to
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. And just, you know, you have to exaggerate all your movements and stuff. And I just tried to make it seem like he was just like he's just like a super fan, just like everyone else. I just tried to play it straight because it's just like the costume, just being in the costume itself is ridiculous enough. So just doing things that ordinary people would do would just seem bizarre. And that's what that's just kind of how I mentally looked into it when I was doing appearances and stuff. I'm just like, I'm just, you know, just one of the guys just doing everything that everybody else would do. But it would just be weird because it's a 7-foot dolphin running around, you know, playing football with kids or going to a school and teaching them about teamwork or, you know, doing a reading with acting out a book or something like that. It was just so simple to get kids to laugh because it was just so silly.
Oh, great story. Thank you for
Oh, no
that.
problem.
The only other person that I wanted to mention, because I'm like a big, huge fan, actor Sylvester Stallone married Jennifer Flavin in London, which I thought was surprising, in May of 1997. And they are still married. They almost got divorced last year
Yeah.
or the year before, but they have a reality show
That's right.
on Paramount now. It's actually not bad. I do not care for reality shows, generally speaking, but because I like him and it's him and his wife and his daughters, and they seem pretty genuine. I don't know. Have you guys seen it or heard about it?
I was actually going through and I almost wanted to watch it, but yeah, I was like, Jason will tell you, I'm not a big TV show person because it's just, I just don't have the time to dedicate to watch. So that's why I'm more of a movie because I'm like 2.5 hours, everything I need to know is done in that thing.
Yep.
Whereas a TV show, like,
Good point.
how many shows have you gotten into over the years and then they get canceled and you're like, oh, what happened? So I kind of got to that point. I think the last like major network show that I watched was Lost. And then when Lost went off the air, I was kind of done with network TV because I'm just like, I really got into that show. And I know a lot of people thought the ending was disappointing. I was okay with it, but I'm like, you're never going to recreate that. So many shows try to, and they got a season or two in and they just fell apart. That was just like, it's really got to be, I know a show that has a beginning and end that I'll then watch it. I finally just started watching Breaking Bad. How long ago did Breaking Bad come out? I think I'm only through the first season right now. So yeah,
Yeah,
for
like
me,
mid-2000s
to get into a
probably.
TV show, it's got to be a big deal. But yeah, I haven't watched The
very
Wire
much.
yet.
I think you're gonna. Oh, you should watch The Wire.
I know I hear about it all the time.
And Breaking Bad. You're choosing good ones.
Right.
You're here. You're choosing good ones.
But I've had some of
To
the worst
dedicate your
luck
time to.
was like when Sopranos came out, and everyone told me I needed to watch The Sopranos. And then I finally watched an episode. I'm like, the show is terrible. And then when the show went off the air, and then like Entertainment Weekly would do like their best episodes, worst episodes, and that they considered like one of the 5 worst episodes is the one I watched. Like even the same with Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Really?
My friends were like, you got to watch the show. You got to watch the show. And I watched the show, and it was actually a show when Sarah Michelle Gellar was not the Slayer at that point. It was
In
like,
it?
this show
Oh,
stinks. What are you
I've
guys
never seen
talking
that
about?
one.
And once again, considered one of the 5 worst episodes of that show. So my timing has always been terrible. And I do have the whole series of Buffy the Vampire Slayer if I have time. That's why I just tell my wife, when I'm retired and I'm old, I'll finally go watch all these old shows.
And that also started
You
in
have to have a running
97,
list.
did it not? Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
Buffy?
From what I was researching.
That might
At
be
least
right.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was the opposite. You know, it's interesting because I don't recall watching a great deal of television in 97. I watched somewhat, but very much a big fan of film as I still am today. But I watch so much more television now because of all the popular streaming TV shows. But interestingly enough, to find Breakdown, which we're probably about to break down shortly, it is on Paramount Plus, which is where then, of course, I saw the photo for the Stallone reality show. And I still am interested in seeing a little bit of it. I'll probably watch just a bit just because I do remember when he had married Jennifer Flavin or Flavin. And I was like, oh, good for you, Sly. Very, very
Yeah.
pretty lady. But yeah,
And that's-
anything with
that's
Stallone
impressive.
in it, just being Stallone, I'm kind of interested.
Are you a Stallone guy too?
I'd say I am. I've always been a fan. I mean, growing up in the 80s in particular, of course, because of Rocky, I know Bill's a bit more of a fan than I am. But I mean, growing up, he was definitely at the forefront of the action heroes, the big buff action heroes of our time. He led the way and just a talented all around. I respect his mind. I respect his talent. I think he's still underrated as a writer, producer, performer, actor. I mean, we just covered First Blood and he has a great performance in that. But even today now on the social media, like he's on, I think I follow him on either TikTok or Instagram. And I was watching a reel and he's doing his workout at age 77 and to a Gonna Fly Now, which is a theme from Rocky. And he looks great. And I respect the guy for what he's done for entertainment and within the business. And, you know, he's had his ups and downs just like anybody. And he's been the center of the tabloids from time to time, and has a reputation for this, that, and the other thing. But now I think he's, you know, finally getting the respect he deserves for the overall, the body of work, you know, and he's still doing it. Tulsa King, all that stuff. So yeah, definitely a Stallone fan.
Yeah.
Very well said. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah, you couldn't grow up in Philadelphia and not love Sylvester Stallone. Because I remember when they would show Rocky they would show it like once a year on one of the UHF channels. This was before cable. That would get bigger ratings than what was going on network TV at the time. And that, you know, back then we only had 4 other channels. That was like a huge
Yeah.
event when Rocky or one of the Rockies would come on TV. It was almost like
Marathon was the best.
it was almost like when they used to air Wizard of Oz every year on television.
Yeah.
That was it for Philadelphians. It was Rocky. It was like, all right, you got to stop everything you're doing. They're showing Rocky on TV.
I didn't grow up in Philadelphia, but I stopped everything and watched Rocky on TV too.
Oh yeah, I still get choked up
Yeah.
in that scene when he's in the bedroom with Adrian and he's like, I'm not going to win this fight. I just all I want to do is just go even talking about it, I'm like, okay, I just want to go the distance. That's all he wanted to do. It's, you know.
I think he's ruined me for my expectations of a boyfriend or a husband because I'm like, I want Rocky and Adrian love. Come on.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Storybook movie kind of love. That's great stuff. Seeing as though that you're a huge Rocky fan, and you mentioned being the biggest fan of Rocky IV in particular. I know for Bill and I being, you know, big 80s fans, Carl Weathers' passing recently was a big hit in the way, like it hit us hard. That was a bummer. I just didn't know if I'm sure that affected you as well, but that stung. It just really stung. Just such a likable guy and such a huge part of the Rocky franchise.
Yeah, because he was, actively working, and it just came out of the blue. It's not like we heard, he's ill or he's been in the hospital. It's just, boom, Carl Weathers passed away, and you're like, oh my God, we just saw him recently.
Yeah, he was young. I mean, nowadays,
Right.
seemed pretty young. But yeah, like he made, nobody else would have been that Apollo Creed. And we talked about him on the One More Round Rocky Series podcast, but apparently he had heart disease. And,
Yeah.
I guess it'll get you.
Yeah, we had recently did a podcast on Close Encounters of the Third Kind with another pod, and he pops up, and it was like, oh my God, it's, Carl Weathers. That's awesome. I totally forgot he was in. Yeah, he's in it for a quick scene. He plays a military guard.
police. Yeah.
Yeah,
Interesting. I haven't seen that.
yeah. But yeah, I totally
Well,
forgot he was in
talking
it, so it was a
about-
nice surprise.
Yeah. I did want to get your opinions or your thoughts on our everyman, or everymen, I should say, of this season of Retromates. So we have Kurt Russell, who is in our movie today, and also Patrick Swayze. Do you guys have any thoughts or fandom about one or both of them that you'd like to share?
Where do we begin? I love that you're focusing on these actors, and I believe, just a little insight for the listeners, that's how we sort of connected with Katie. If I'm not mistaken, you had emailed us because I don't know what episode we were discussing. Could have been Dirty Dancing, possibly, or something else where we were talking about, and we made the comparison between Patrick Swayze and Kurt Russell.
Maybe The
as being
Outsiders?
ultimate.
Oh, yeah, that's
Could have been
well, which one was it?
The Outsiders.
But yes,
maybe?
you guys were talking about it. Oh my, yeah.
Right, and obviously you could relate, as you're talking about it yourself on this pod, which is awesome. Because when I was growing up, and Bill, I don't think found out about this until I was sharing probably too much on our own pod, but I grew up dancing. So I actually was part of a very small dance troupe out of Lake Villa, Illinois, a very small suburb of Chicago, and part of Kim Calla's dance studio. So I was one of only a few young boys that were part of a mostly, female populated dance studio, and, practiced ballet and tap, and we called it tumbling back then. So just all around gymnastics and things like that. Mm-hmm. So it was a different time. And that gave me a lot of experience and strength in both sports, but also performance. I hated practice. I hated rehearsing. I loved being on stage. And I give so much credit to dancing to getting me into the entertainment world, and which eventually would become acting. And whom, of course, would I end up looking up to and admiring but Patrick Swayze, because of his dance background. And having such a particular appreciation for Dirty Dancing, the film itself, and his control of his body, his physical movements, was always impressive, because obviously experienced in martial arts, and the guy could dance, but he retained such a specific masculinity and sexuality, and he owned it all. He could be finesse and strength at the same time. And he's obviously like a pretty man, but a handsome man, and an everyman rolled into one. So I always admired Patrick Swayze. I'll never forget, I was on an audition once with his brother. It was just a general casting call once, and his brother, who also is an
Don?
actor. Is that right?
Or no, the one that looks a lot
yes,
like him?
Yes. And I was like, hey, that's Pat Swayze's brother. So when Patrick Swayze passed, that also hit hard. And because I always looked up to him. And I remember one of the last projects he was working on, I believe it was like a TV show called Beast or something, if I'm not.
The Beast.
The Beast, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so looked up to him. And then, of course, Kurt Russell is just, again, there's something about movie stars that are relatable, but that you can admire and look up to at the same time. So Kurt Russell is the same, where he's obviously a handsome leading man, but he is such a talented actor and can do so many different things. It's not out of reach. It's like, okay, I can put myself in this guy's shoes versus an Arnold Schwarzenegger or a Dolph Lundgren or even maybe a Stallone at times. It's like, I'm never going to be that big, or I'm never going to be that tall, or I'm never going to be, that's a little out of my reach. These are they have like superhero status in a way, how we look at them as movie stars. Whereas a Kurt Russell, I'm not saying I'm nearly, like the stud that Kurt Russell is, but still, Big Trouble in Little China comes out and it's like, this guy, what, if, and this is interesting, I was thinking about it, if there's any difference between the two, I think Kurt Russell has a real sense of comedic timing. I think he can be very funny, and he's done comedy and he's done weird comedy, and then he can play it straight too. But he has a wonderful emotional range. So does Patrick Swayze. And yeah, it's just the relatable element. We're going to get to it in this movie, but I'm watching Breakdown going, wow, he plays the intensity and the fear so well. Like, he just seems like a normal dude. He is the every guy. I've seen him be a hero in so many movies, but here he's wearing a polo shirt and khakis and is getting roughed up, and he doesn't even know how to fix a car or anything like that. I'm like, yeah, perfect. I know this guy because I am that guy. I believe him.
Yes.
The believability is so huge to pull off the action and then to be so believable as a human being, I guess, it's just, there's a well-rounded aspect to both actors that is, untouched, but these guys could do it all. So much respect.
Bill, do you have additional thoughts?
Yeah, I think for me, as you can see, I'm trying to go for the Kurt Russell, the Thing look, even though I don't have the dark hair with the beard and I've been growing out my hair. But for me, especially Kurt Russell, I mean, he's been around forever, since he's been a child. And I remember growing up watching all those movies he did for Disney. Peter Wears Tennis Shoes and The Barefoot Executive, Now See Me, Now You Don't. And I would watch those over and over. It took me a while to associate that it was Kurt Russell, but I loved those movies. I would watch them all the time. And then we get into the 80s, and I mean, you talk about cult movies. All the stuff he did with John Carpenter, The Thing, Big Trouble in Little China, Escape from New York. So he's just been around forever. And it was weird because I think when we did our first movie about Kurt Russell, you would think he was like, oh, he's such a big star. But none of his movies ever really did huge until he did Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I mean, they did okay. Nothing did great. Even like Breakdown, Breakdown was considered a sleeper hit, but it doesn't do boffo box office. But it was a movie a lot of people talked about, and it did well. They weren't expecting it to even do anything. So he's just someone that's always been there for as long as I can remember. And then one of the things I like to do is I'll pick like an actor or something and just watch as many movies as I can of that person. And I got into this whole Elvis kick. And here I am watching it happen at the World's Fair with Elvis. And there's a little young Kurt Russell, like maybe he's 8 or 9 years old. And he's like maybe in 2 or 3 scenes. And I'm like, oh my God, this guy's been around forever. It's just amazing. So yeah, I just feel like Kurt Russell's just been a part of my life for as long as I can remember. I've always just, if he's in a movie, I got to watch it just because I've just tried to see everything that he's in. And then as for Patrick Swayze, I probably did not follow him as much. And it's strange because he's in so many iconic films. Like when his movies hit, they hit. The Outsiders is such a big deal. Like Red Dawn was such a big thing because it was the first, PG-13 movie that was released in theaters.
Yeah.
And then, it goes on to Dirty Dancing, which is one of the biggest sleeper hits of all time. Then, then he does Ghost. He did that TV series North and South, which was huge back then. So like his
Roadhouse.
career.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Roadhouse. Yes. I mean that.
Point Break.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So he did such like these macho men films, but then he would turn around and do Ghost and like Dirty Dancing and stuff like that. So I always felt like his career was kind of a roller coaster, but man, his highs were high, and but unfortunately, his lows were low. But yeah, when he like we heard about the cancer, and it's just like, man, why? Because I mean, you never heard a bad thing about Patrick Swayze. It was always one of probably the nicest people in Hollywood, and just something like that to happen, it just sucks. It just sucks.
Yeah,
He was a good
that
guy.
was one. Really well said. And I was going to say, Patrick Swayze made me feel like it was okay to be a dancer, but like you can be masculine and be a dancer, because it was just looked upon differently when I was very young in the early 80s. And he brought such a strength and was the example. And it was one of those things where it's like men want to be him, women want to be with him. It's kind of that thing that I looked up to. But Bill was nailing it right there at the end with the likability factor. How do you know? Anytime, it's like with a lot of your favorite character actors, but these guys were leads. And anytime they show up in a movie, you hear their name, you're like, I'll go see that. I'll watch it eventually. If I'm not running down to the theater, I'll watch, because I like seeing their faces. I want to see what Kurt Russell does. I want to see what Patrick Swayze does, because he's just cool. He's cool. And he seems like a dude I could have a beer with, and I'd want to hear his stories. And sure enough, even now, Kurt Russell showing up on Monarch, Legacy of Monsters. He's doing a Godzilla TV show. The only reason I watched the first few episodes is because he's in it. He doesn't show up till the second or third episode, and he looks awesome. I'm like, that's Kurt Russell. He's still a badass. Love this guy.
Oh yeah, even the Santa Claus movies he's been doing. I'm like, I'm watching this because I want to see Kurt
He
Russell's
can
Santa
do the
Claus.
gray beard.
He does.
He's been with Goldie Hawn forever. And
Yeah, I love that they're not married.
Yeah.
that's such a cool thing. And if you hear any of his interviews, even, and I've heard he shows up smelling like Marlboros and wearing a leather jacket, and it's exactly how you think he would be. And then he tells the coolest stories, and he sounds like the coolest dude. Just like, I want to hang with Kurt Russell, and I would have wanted to hang with Pat Swayze at any moment in time.
And we almost lost him to sports. He was, he really wanted to be a baseball player and played in minor leagues for a while. So I'm glad that didn't work out to benefit all of us. So thank you.
Yes, indeed. Oh my gosh, you guys are just like, I'm loving hearing your thoughts on these two, because that's how it, like, obviously I think very highly of both of them because I put them in a season together. But there's another reason I put them in a season together. I think they look alike. Do you?
How the two of them never did a movie together is beyond me. They should have.
Could have played family in a movie.
Yes.
I think they're close enough. Looks wise.
I agree.
That's a great call, Katie. Because I had listened to your Red Dawn episode just recently, and you, I think, mentioned that at least briefly, if not more, in that episode. And then while I thought of that, watching Breakdown, a lot of it is in the facial structure. There's something to do with the absolute square jaw. Their heads are basically squares, and it's great. Like it looks great on the movie screen. That's
masculine,
why,
rugged but pretty at the same time somehow. Yeah,
absolutely. And something in the eyes. I noticed, like, Kurt Russell's got great eyes. He's got beautiful eyes. Really popping in this movie Breakdown. I was like, dang, he's got really pretty eyes.
He does.
But there's definitely, for me, it's the jawline, general facial structure, and hair forever.
Yes.
These guys got some lettuce on their head. They got some serious mops. And I've always been jealous. I've just been like, man, how do they get it so wavy and thick? This guy's
both great quality. The Next of Kin episode, I made the statement that there are exactly two people on the planet that could ever pull off a mullet, and it's those two. And that's it. That was my statement.
For sure.
Maybe Richard Dean Anderson.
Anyways.
From MacGyver.
Sure.
MacGyver.
That's a great call.
But yes, that is a very small list. That's for sure. But yes, they would be in definitely the top 5.
Well, should we get into the movie breakdown?
Yes. Let us
do it.
All right. It's rated R, and it has a 7 on IMDb. Jonathan Mostow was the director and writer. You might know him from Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines. And then Sam Montgomery was an additional writer. He wrote a few episodes of 24 and U571, which Jonathan Mostow also directed.
Love
And the
U571.
I don't think I've seen it.
I saw that in the theater with my mom, and they had the surround sound. And there's I love submarine movies and I love boxing movies. And I always joke, if they could make a boxing movie that took place in a submarine, it would be the greatest movie ever. But there's, of course, every submarine movie, you have that scene when they're, the death charges are coming down and because they're being attacked. And just listen, like the theater was literally vibrating because of the sound design in that movie. And Matthew McConaughey's in it. And actually,
I definitely need to watch
and
this movie.
Jack Noseworthy, who plays Billy in this movie, is also in U571. So yes, check it out.
He is.
It's a good one.
Speaking of Red Dawn, Jason, Basil Polidoris also composed the music in that. So he did this music. And then from a cast perspective, we have Kurt Russell as our main character, Jeff Taylor, and his wife. Her name in the movie is Amy, and she's played by Kathleen Quinlan. I am unfamiliar with her, but apparently she was nominated for an Oscar for her supporting role in Apollo 13.
Yes, I think she played.
And she got her break in American Graffiti.
Yeah, that I was super surprised to hear that she had been around that long. But she has a very long filmography.
Film career.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, Here she is. She gets, hey, you get to do a movie with Kurt Russell. You got to be super excited, but you're only on screen for 20 minutes, Damn it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, of all the cast, I would have recast her in this movie.
So you don't think the two of them work together?
Well, it was just, there's nothing wrong with it. I don't know. And, this is going to sound terrible, but
okay.
I think we needed somebody a touch prettier, like somebody a touch prettier too, maybe.
I respect that opinion. I understand.
Well, I wouldn't put a big name. I don't think we needed another big name, but I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of other actresses at that time.
Like maybe even like an Annette Bening type.
Gotcha.
Like, I don't know.
For me, I felt they kind of worked together, but I totally understand what you're saying too. Like, she's attractive, but not, I don't know. She's kind of on that fence scale, to be honest.
I don't, there's Kurt Russell's just freaking Kurt Russell. So to match his presence, maybe that's just the factor in itself, is a presence thing. Maybe it required more of a quote unquote movie star to make an appearance in that role. But even though it is a small role, but I actually am
it is a small role.
I am a fan of hers. I think she's very likable. I find her very attractive personally, but that's a taste thing.
Okay.
It's really just a taste thing. I am a fan of her in The Doors. I was a fan of hers in Apollo 13, but also, which came out this year, one of my sci-fi horror cult favorites is Event Horizon. And she's fantastic in that. And she co-stars alongside Jack Noseworthy. And
that's true.
She plays very much a mother figure to his character in the film. And I think nicknames him something like Baby Bear or something like those lines, but listeners can chime in and correct me on that. They have a very, very distinct connection in that film, both Kathleen Quinlan and Jack Noseworthy in that movie. And I love that movie with Sam Neill, and it's really freaky. But anyway, Kathleen Quinlan, she definitely had her moment. Now, I think she's a talented actress, but I understand what you're saying. It's kind of like,
if you recast her,
it could be of two minds. Yeah, you want somebody to pop on screen but also maybe it's not necessary for a smaller role. You could go either way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Bill,
I'm just saying if they did recast her, I don't think I would have a big issue with it. I would be, oh my God, she has to be in that role now.
Okay.
So
Jack Noseworthy he's in this. He plays Billy. He's kind of one of the bad guys. And he's one of those very familiar faces. You know him. You're like, what do I know him
Right.
from? He's one of those guys. He played Bobby in Alive and also Bobby in Killing Kennedy, the TV series. So,
Jason, did
Bobby
we
Kennedy.
see Alive together?
I want to say we probably did. Well, that was
Yeah.
definitely during our time at University of Miami. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was like one of the first things we did coming back from break. And I just remember watching that, just feeling so much tension throughout that whole movie. Because there was even like a scene where they're trying to have fun, where they're like sledding in the mountains just to try to change it up.
Mhm.
And the whole time I was just dreading, oh my God, they're going to fall off the side of the mountain or the snow is going to climb. I couldn't even enjoy the scene that they were trying to enjoy just because of the situation they were in.
It is a stressful
Yeah.
movie. Good movie.
And there's a new iteration of that story.
Yeah, I was
now
gonna say.
also. It was, new movie just came out. Yeah.
That's right. I saw that pop up. Yeah. A friend recommended it to me and I was like, is that the Alive story? And she didn't know what I was
Yeah,
about.
it's supposed
I'm
to be
like,
very
dear,
good.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and for the longest time, he had always had that distinct
No,
hair.
which
That it was he kind of had that
Oh,
mop
yeah.
top for a while that he would kind of like brush back. But yeah, the face definitely, but the hair I
Yes.
can always
Yeah,
remember
you're
too.
right. JT Walsh, this was like his last
Yeah.
film before, like that was released before his passing. And Kurt Russell has said, so listeners, sorry, I'm all over the board. JT Walsh plays the main bad guy. His name is Red in the movie. And he was actually in Backdraft with Kurt Russell also. So we talked about him in that episode. But he was also like A Few Good Men and Sling Blade. But Kurt Russell has said in interviews where he's mentioned that JT Walsh is his favorite American actor.
Wow.
Mhm.
One of the greatest
Outstanding. Say enough
of all
about him.
time. Yeah, anytime he's on screen. I think we covered him in Good Morning Vietnam. Yeah,
Mm.
you just like to not like him. He was just so good at that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, MC Gainley, who plays another bad guy, he plays Earl in this. He has a lot of TV credits, but movies like he was in Wild Hogs, Con Air, and the sheriff in the 2005 Dukes of Hazzard. He has said that he didn't like this. His character in this was so dark that he regretted doing it. Actually,
Wow.
taking the
Yeah, he was one of those
Yeah.
rewatching this the whole time. I'm like, I've seen this guy before. And I could not remember. And then finally, I was like, oh, he was on Lost. He was on I think he was on like season or 2 of Lost.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and I think
Good
in
call.
some of the episodes he didn't have the mustache. So that's why I didn't recognize him. And he had the gray hair at that point. But yeah, it was driving me nuts because I'm like,
Yes.
I've seen this guy. Where have I
Right.
seen him before?
He's definitely one
You're
of
right.
those. Oh, hey, it's that guy.
Yep.
You see him, and you're like, I
Yeah.
know I've seen him before. And I just real briefly, I'm not going to go on a long tangent here. Just going back to JT Walsh, I have to say, when I think of this movie, I actually think of JT Walsh before I think of anyone else, even though it's a really
Wow.
Kurt Russell vehicle. I actually, this is
Mhm.
the movie I think of when I think of JT Walsh. He's a powerhouse, and he's just got one of those. Like Bill said, you see his face and you just hate him. But he's
Well, I was
just so
reading
good at what he
actually-
And that's as a compliment.
Yeah, absolutely.
To that point, both Kurt Russell and JT Walsh actually recommend. So they cut down their dialogue by a lot because both actors were saying that they could act it in their behavior and their actions. They didn't need to say it.
Show, don't tell.
So,
Yep.
yeah. Then we have Sheriff Boyd is played by Rex Lynn. He played Travers in Cliffhanger.
That's
Yep,
all
that's
I
what
think
I
of
remember.
every time.
Yeah. I couldn't think of anything else he was in besides Cliffhanger. I'm like, the Cliffhanger guy.
Then Moira Sinise, just quickly, she has a very small role in this. She plays Red's wife. She's really only in it at the end. And the reason I'm bringing her up is because we just covered her in the Tall Tale episode. She was in Tall Tale with Patrick Swayze. And she's Gary Sinise's wife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Saw that too.
And
Yeah, I didn't recognize her at all. So, no, that's good.
Jack McGee is the bartender / owner of the diner. And he's also one of those guys that he's in just tons of stuff. But we talked about him. He was also in Backdraft with Kurt.
So
So-
I love seeing Jack McGee, and on our podcast, we covered a niche sci-fi movie called The Hidden, one of my favorite. I forced Bill Bant in doing that movie. And so one of our segments we call, Hey, It's That Actor. And my choice for The Hidden was Jack McGee.
It's Jack McGee.
Who played
Mhm.
the bartender in that movie, who also is
That's
the bartender in this breakdown. So Jack McGee's great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you guys, if you have not seen Breakdown, or if it's been 25 years, it is about a man that searches for his missing wife after their car breaks down in the middle of the desert. So they are driving across country from Massachusetts to San Diego for a new job. And that's where we open. We get a beautiful opening shot of the desert landscape and the intermix, the credits. I really thought this, I'm curious what you guys think. I thought it was pretty cool. Intermixed with the opening credits, and there's all these lines like on a black screen. And then we learn then that those lines are the highway lines on a map. I thought that was kind of cool.
Loved it. Absolutely loved it. As soon as the movie began, I should preface this by saying I've always been a fan of this movie. I'm so glad we chose this to cover on this podcast today, because I've always enjoyed it, not just because of Kurt Russell, but for a lot of different reasons. And as soon as the film started, I was like, hell yeah, this is how we do it. Great music. I'm a fan of Basil Palladors. I always have been, since I'm a big collector of movie soundtracks. RoboCop is the one. And that's when I was like, who's this guy? I'm going to listen to his soundtracks from here on in. And when this film started, I hadn't recalled he did the score for the film. And you're right, the opening credits start, and there's this great sort of drum beat in the background, and you see the lines coming in the credits going. I'm like, the music's great. It's already intense. I'm in. Who's doing this music? Great start to the movie.
Overall impressions, Bill.
I had not seen this since it first came out, so this is a long time for me to watch. And I think what I love about this movie is it's a really simple story. You don't have, even though it's like in this vast territory, you don't really have a lot of actors. So I always love movies that can break things down very simplistic. And really it's a couple, and the wife gets taken and the husband has to find, and it's not super complicated. He doesn't have to go through 15 states to figure this all out. It's just basically 4 bad guys. But the whole time you're watching this movie, like when he goes to Bell's Diner, like the whole time I'm like, wait, are all these people in on this too? Or when he goes to the city, you're like, wait, are all these people in on this too? But it really is just the 4. And even Red's wife has no idea that any of this stuff is going on. And that's what I just and it felt like a story that, they spent, I think, maybe $20 million on it. And it was like, yeah, all right.
36 million.
Oh, okay. So
36 million. It grossed only 50 though.
Right.
At the box office.
Okay.
But then it became more popular on video, I think.
Yeah. So it's one of those, you don't really know what to expect audience wise, but it just grips you right from the beginning. Cause because Kurt Russell, you feel for him, and to see him play the everyman, instead of the anti-hero that he was doing a lot in the 80s. He just pulled it off great. And you just had the perfect villain in JT Walsh. So you just had some great ingredients, simple story, some just great actors. Didn't need to use a whole bunch of sets for this. And it was just, I don't know, just overall, it's just fun for me just to go back and watch this again. It's been way too long.
Yeah. You said it, man. And this is a tight package. I wish we got more movies like this. It's so smart. It's really well written. And I'm glad that both Kurt Russell and JT Walsh said less is more. We don't need the dialogue. Let's trim it down. Let's just show what we're feeling. And they kill it because they're just wonderful performers. But what a great premise. You're in from the get.
Everyone can relate.
It is scary. It's frightening. And anyone of us that's driven across country has had these thoughts. This is a classic, what would I do if I were in this scenario kind of movie. And especially in that time when you have the cell network isn't much, if anything. He does have a cell phone technically, but It's an old school phone. It's just not the same. And you are stranded in the middle of nowhere. Even cell phones today, a lot of the time, you don't have the signal. What do you do? It's an impossible situation. It is frightening to the core. And Kurt Russell sells the hell out of it. This movie, you take out the credits, it's well under an hour and 29 minutes. And it's a roller coaster ride.
So you guys listening or watching, so we get their car breaks down, and here comes what I found wild about this is that they're calm and jovial about the fact that they're stranded. They're joking with each other and stuff, and I'm like, I'd be freaking out. But then a little while later, a semi truck comes up behind them to kind of help push him. Like, he seems like this nice, friendly, helpful trucker. And he offers them a ride to the next town. And so that's to your point, Jason, though, what would you do? And what they do is Kurt stays with the car because it's a brand new car. And they make a big deal about this it's a red Jeep Grand Cherokee, but they really make it seem like it's like a rich person car, which I don't know. So the wife goes and he stays. There's a payphone 5 minutes from here, 5 miles from here. We'll call a tow truck. And he's great. You do that. I'll stay here with the car. That's what happens in the movie. What would you guys do in this scenario?
Oh my God. This is so funny because I kind of had something similar happen to me when I was with the Dolphins, and we would go around to these schools and do like this junior training camp thing. And we were like 2 hours away from Miami. We drove up and then we were driving back and we blew a tire. And because it was one of those like U-Haul trucks, there's no spare. And this is before cell phones. So it was like the beeper age. So it was like, crap, we need to buy. First we thought, hey, someone's going to pull over when this giant Dolphins truck, someone's going to pull over and try for help. And of course, no one would stop by. And we were stuck on the road for 45 minutes. And then finally this van pulls up and the guy's like, oh, do you guys need help? And of course, this movie's in the back of my head. Like, I don't want to get in the car with them. So eventually the guy I was with, because he was bigger and stronger than me, he went in and he drove off. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, am I going to see him again? Am I going to see him?
Oh my God.
But luckily, the only reason they pulled over is because they wanted money, because they were just like a bunch of like hippie who were just traveling the thing and they needed gas money. So that's why they kind of picked this up and helped us. And then eventually this pickup truck finally pulls. The guy has a tire, throws it on. He's, yeah, I think your friend's at the gas station. And then I got in the car and drove to the local gas station. And my friend was like literally cheering that he saw me because he thought the same thing. He's like, I didn't think I was going to see you again either. So.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh man.
It's a day I will never forget. But yeah, that was kind of like my breakdown moment. And luckily, like we turned out okay. But yeah, watching this movie, I was thinking like, oh, if this was me and my wife, yeah, we both would have been done for. But you would think nice people.
Would you have both gone? Well, what would you have done? Would you have both gone with him, or would you both stayed with the car, or what would you have done?
I know.
If it's you and your wife?
I think we would have split up too.
Really?
Yeah. I'll have to ask her about this now. Because I don't think we both would have went.
What about you, Jason?
I would like to think I would go with her. I would have to go with her. I think in this particular scenario, if I had my head about me and just looked at all the factors, what is of most value? My wife, first and foremost, has to be my priority. The car, it's just a material thing. I mean, I say that, but if I had this fancy red Grand Cherokee, right? I know, but
yeah,
but
like
even
it's new. They make a point
right.
of saying it's like a new car and it's really nice.
But it's still the middle of the desert. Is somebody going to just drive along and steal my car? I don't think so. I'm going to risk leaving the car behind. Just stay with my wife. Make sure we get to someplace together. I don't want to let her out of my sight. Not to say that she isn't capable, not that I don't trust her. It's just that there's too many unknowns in the middle of nowhere. I wouldn't risk it, but that's, maybe I'm just saying that because I know what ends up happening.
Right.
Yeah, it's easy to say
Right.
when you know that he's spoiler alert, he's not a good guy.
Yeah, Mr. Truck Driver, red
No.
bar.
I do really enjoy the callback and the payoff of the donuts.
Oh yeah.
So they stop there at a gas station, and we see an unattended Jeep with a hood open, and that does come into play later. But they're like, it just in the gas station. They're just maybe a little naive people. They go into the gas station, get snacks, and it's like those gas station, a pack of powdered sugar donuts. And there's whoever made the donuts has a contest. I can't even remember what the contest was, but you could win $90,000 of that specific amount.
Or 90,000
And then they
donuts.
call back. Yes, or
Right.
90,000 donuts. Yes. So she's reading this to them as they're in the car. And then that's called back to later when the bad guys are like, oh, your wife told us a very specific amount of money that you have in some account. And Kurt's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then he remembers that and he says $90,000 too.
Yeah. That's smart.
I just remember the scene when she's showing the snacks. I'm like, oh my God, you picked some of the worst stuff. I would not eat that at that age. That the teenager in me would eat that
Snowballs.
stuff, but not adult me, that's for sure. But
I think I would. I think I
really?
would.
Yeah,
So,
I couldn't touch that stuff now.
yeah.
But yeah, it's good that they specify that in that opening scene about it's like, oh, what would you do with 90,000 donuts? And then when his car goes into the river, and then we have another shot of the donuts, and it's like, okay, we're showing this to you again because it's going to come back into play later in the movie. And then even me in the trunk, I'm thinking, no, I would have picked up on that. I would have been dead right there, dummy me. But yeah, that was very smart on her part.
Though I think the only reason it was very smart, and the reason that he did pick up on it was because she said to the bad guys, my husband is like some sort of owns a
Yeah,
donut
like the
company
donut king or something.
like-
Yeah.
Yeah. And so he's like, oh, yeah.
Smart on her behalf. Yeah.
Well, I'm already the dumb one that set my wife off to begin with, so I probably would. I've been dumb enough to not pick up on the clue.
Kurt Russell did
Yeah.
it too. Have you guys seen the movie? It comes out in 98. It's called Black Dog with Patrick Swayze. I recently did an episode about it.
I still have never seen
No
it.
one saw
I
it.
still have never seen
No one saw this movie.
Yeah.
It's actually quite
Is
good.
he a
It's
truck
super
driver in that one?
action-packed. Yes.
Okay.
it. Right.
There's a lot of parallels with, there's a guy named Earl, played by Randy Travis in Black Dog. Patrick Swayze. So there's truck driving, highway chase scenes in both movies. There's a
Awesome.
lot of,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I just kept thinking of Black Dog.
I think I've seen it, but I don't remember it at all. Outside of the fact this truck
I
driver.
don't think very many people
Yeah.
saw it. What were some other scenes that really stood out to you guys?
Oh, the
Yeah.
best scene. And I'm sorry, Jason. I'm going to step on your scene too. Is
Not at all.
when
Yeah, go for it.
is when Kurt Russell as Jeff tracks down the truck, and he runs into JT Walsh, and he's trying to get him to pull over, and he won't pull over, and then he finally cuts him off, and JT Walsh comes out, and he's like, "Where's my wife?" He's like, "What are you talking about? I've never," and you're just like, "Oh, what the hell is going on?" Because you're like,
Right.
"Wait, is that a twin brother? Is that what they're just trying to play here?" And then the longer the scene gets into, you're just like, "Oh my God, this is not good at all." It's just, the two of them are just amazing in that. And then the fact that the trooper comes and they flag him down, and he's like, I'm looking at through the car. And then you're thinking, okay, maybe Kurt Russell will find a clue when he goes in to see something that, maybe the officer didn't see that would, but the fact that then he drives away and you're like, what is he going to do now? What is he going to do now? That scene is just great.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
just the best to me. Super intense.
Where he's like, what are you doing? Like, he realizes that he's playing with him. And Kurt's like, what are you doing? Where's Amy?
Yeah.
It's great.
Every step of the way, I am going, what would I do if I were in his shoes? And it's pretty much exactly what Kurt Russell does. It's like, you are at your wit's end here. Every situation is so confounding and frightful, and your mind is just going a million miles an hour at all times. I have to find my wife. How am I going to put this together these pieces of the puzzle because I have no resources. I've got nothing. And after that great scene, good call, Bill Bant, because that's JT Walsh when he just puts on that blank stare like, I don't know you. And what are you going to do? Well, how do you prove it? You've got nothing. And he goes back to Bell's Diner. And that's where I'm going, you're screwed, pal. Your wife is gone. You've got nothing. You can't trace her cell phone. Even if you could, if she's not picking up, she's not calling you back. She's gone. She's gone. Where do you even begin? And he tries every avenue, but they're not really proving fruitful until, of course, the bad guys, starting with Billy, lead him down a path. And then we understand, oh, this is a kidnapping / hostage ransom situation. And I have some questions plot-wise as far as why didn't they take Kurt Russell earlier and such, but it still plays out wonderfully. And what I'll call out is because this movie is intense. It's intense. Credit to Kurt Russell's acting. He does this thing, Harrison Ford is one of my favorite. I always say Harrison Ford does action the best because he has an intensity about him. There's something that takes over his face when he's in an action scene. And there's some way he has this scowl and you're like, oh my God, he's serious. Don't mess with Harrison Ford. Kurt Russell has a thing too. And in this scenario, it's not so much out of, I have to take charge. Sometimes it's a mixture of fear. And when he's so intense, his cheeks shake. His cheeks vibrate.
Oh, yeah.
He does this thing where his whole body is shaking. He's vibrating. And oh God, Kurt Russell's in it. He's living this. And I'm frightened for him. I'm frightened with him. And towards the end, when he finally, this movie's brutal, by the way, the treatment of the wife. And it reminds me of another movie called The Vanishing, which I don't even like to think about, which is really scary, about another wife getting kidnapped. That's a different movie. But
I feel like I've seen that.
yeah, that's Kiefer Sutherland, Sandra Bullock, and Jeff Bridges. Anyway, it's really weird and scary. So this, Kathleen Quinlan as Amy, she gets kidnapped and she's wrapped in some sort of burlap sack and they think she's dead as she's suffocated.
It's like a body bag.
Yeah, it's like, and she's not dead.
Like.
And then they throw her into a freezer. But obviously, spoiler alert, Kurt Russell gets the, upper hand and rescues her. And I just want to point out the scene. Once they make their escape from Red's barn, that entire chase sequence is insane because they're in a trailer and they're trying to commandeer this truck. They got to find the keys for the truck. And then here comes Red in his semi, crashes through the trailer, narrowly missing them. And then there's the sequence on the road when Billy's in his Camaro and Red's in his truck. And I think, who's his other, Al is like in, who's already been shot at this point, is in another car. And there's this triangulation where the two cars are on either side of the truck that have Jeff and Amy in it, and Red's behind them in the semi, and they're crushing him. They're surrounding him. All three vehicles surrounding one vehicle, racing down this road, which ends up into this intense sequence on the bridge, which is still what a great finale. It's just, you can make any, talk about so many different car chases and intense sequences, so many different movies. And you can talk about what's Steven Spielberg's earliest Duel, right? Was truck chasing another car. But this one is, for me, I always, as a go-to, is one of my favorites because I'm like, it's one of those things. Oh, you think they're about to get out of it. He found his wife. It is not over. This movie is not over when he rescues his wife. They're not even close. So love that final chase sequence.
Stressed out.
Yeah. It's stressful.
There's two scenes where Kurt, as Jeff, has to use the most insane amount of upper body strength.
Yeah.
And that stressed me out because I'm like, I couldn't do that. I'd be dead. He climbs. There's a scene, I feel like this has happened in other movies, where he stows away on Red's truck, leading him to the barn on the underside of the truck, and then maneuvers his way up to the cab part. And then, Jason, the end scene, they're dangled over the cab of the semi over a bridge, and he has to pull himself up from dangling. And I'm like, oh my God.
You better have done your chin-ups and your pull-up workouts in order to pull that off. But you nailed it, Katie, because he does the Indiana Jones sequence on the truck when he's underneath it. crawling up and around the side of it, not when in the middle of the movie or towards the third act there. But there was another sequence I was going to call out regarding like Indiana Jones maneuvers. But yeah, that he gets to do his action hero bit there. We get the best of both worlds with Kurt Russell in this moment. We're like, okay, I think he could do this because he's just an everyman,
Yeah,
but
I mean-
he's like, it's Kurt Russell. I'm going to go with it. I'll buy it.
And he's what, 97? Was he like 50 maybe? So he was born
Yeah.
in
He's got to be.
52 or 3.
Wow. Yeah.
So like late 40s.
Yeah. I was going to say probably
He would have
looks,
been in his
yeah,
late
mid
40s.
40s, late 40s. But there's another scene I found really chilling that almost made my hair stand is when he goes to the police office to report that his wife's missing and he's given the report and then he
Yeah.
goes over
Oh yeah.
and just sees all those missing posters. And I just remember thinking like,
Mhm.
oh my God, he must realize this is a lot bigger than just his wife. It's like, how big does this run? And it's just the 2 officers. I'm like, are the officers not realizing all these people are getting kidnapped in their area? It was like, it's got to be something going on. So that's why, like, throughout the whole rest of the movie, that's why I always thought like everybody else, this whole town is in on this. And there's
That's
something else sharing the
exactly what I
web.
was
But
going to
yeah,
say.
but just the way he
So
looks
smart.
and gets
We-
lost in those missing posters, I was just like, oh my God,
Very
this is
scary.
terrible.
And then it's confirmed when we get to the barn that is filled with the belongings of
Oh yeah,
maybe hundreds of people that they've done this to before. It turns out it's like a whole network of like highway robbery
Murders.
murderers. And Billy informs him, he's pretending to be like mentally challenged and informs him that the police are in on
Yep.
it. But then I'm curious to see what you guys think. Why does he then trust the sheriff later? And the sheriff's not in on it because
Right.
he ends up killing Earl. So was it the deputy or
I don't know
No?
if Billy was just kind of planting it, throwing him a
Saying
little
that?
red herring there because that's what it feels
Okay.
like. I don't know. Bill nailed it. I think you all nailed it here where it's everybody's a suspect. Everybody's so suspicious. It's really smart in the storytelling where we don't know who to trust. So now
the
who do you even,
bartender?
oh God, Jack McKee is the bartender. Absolutely. Any of the people sitting in that diner. Are they all
Mhm.
like Bill said, is every single person in on it? But
Super sinister.
oh yeah, good word.
Yeah, because even the
Absolutely.
bank teller that he's dealing with, when he starts, I'm like, don't tell him. He might be. I couldn't remember. I'm like, he might be on this too because how many times has he had to do this transaction? So he's probably used to doing this because this is part of their MO. So yeah, it just anytime you interact with someone else, I would just don't trust anybody. You are on your own.
And you nailed it, Katie, with that
Yeah.
device of seeing when they get to the barn and Kurt Russell's up in the loft area, seeing all the clothing and all the artifacts left by, previous victims. That's the scariest thing for me because I'm thinking, is this a Hills Have Eyes scenario or you can name so many different horror films that utilize this, but the simple fact is it always works. When you are stranded in the middle of nowhere and there's just a group of randos, random people that their only goal is to terrorize you with maybe they want your money, maybe they want your clothes, your fancy car, whatever it might be. Maybe they're just doing it for the thrill of it. And guess what? In the end, you're dead. That scares the hell out of me because they're just doing it for the sake of doing it. And who's going to hold them accountable when they're literally in the middle of nowhere? It's great premise. It always works.
It really is. There were other actors that were considered for the role or maybe tried out for the part. Of these people, what do you think? Dennis Quaid, Bruce Willis, Ed Harris, Mel Gibson, and Richard Gere.
Some good ones. I've got my top 2 out of that list that I think are perfect for this. There's some good choices in there.
Okay, I would
Yeah, I have mine.
go ahead.
I have one.
Out of that,
Ed
is that
Harris.
okay? Yeah, he was in my 2, either Harris or Quaid.
Okay.
Me too.
Quaid, yeah,
Me too.
I can see. Yeah, I almost, that's funny. We're in alignment.
Dennis Quaid, you could make an argument that he's kind of in that Kurt
Everyman
Russell kind of
Yeah.
territory. Where
For sure.
very likable leading man, has a bit of range. He can play comedy and all that stuff. Good looking.
Yeah,
guy.
never
I
really
mean,
had a super big hit, but just kept
but can be an
active.
everyman.
Yeah.
Solid.
Can get, he can get beat up like a Bruce Willis can do that too.
But see, I could see Ed Harris though playing the JT Walsh role also. You could almost put him in
Ooh, yeah,
either one of
sure.
those. Yeah.
Good call.
I love Ed Harris.
Yeah.
So
Oh, God,
yeah,
yeah.
I just really like
He's
him.
got
Just
some
watching
good
The Abyss
good
the other day.
intensity. Yeah.
So JT Walsh and Kurt Russell have been in 4 films together. This one, Backdraft, Executive Decision, and Tequila Sunrise.
I totally forgot he was in Tequila Sunrise. JT Walsh.
Yeah, I would
Yeah, certainly remember, Backdraft.
Executive Decisions, one of my that's a go-to for me. Another intense, great
Mhm.
action movie. Love that one. But yeah, I mean, great pairing.
Kurt Russell was just coming off of, let's see, what movie? I think it was Escape from LA. He was just done filming when he started filming this. And so he really didn't want to do it, apparently. So they made a deal with him. Like it's a Dino
De Laurentiis.
De Laurentiis.
Yeah.
production. He actually like helicoptered Kurt in and out so that he would only work from 9 a.m. till 3:30 or 4 and be back home with his family every day. That was the deal they made,
Wow.
Kurt, to do the movie.
In a way, I was thinking
Hey,
kind of helped the
yeah.
movie too, because everything, except for that basically one scene when the truck shows, everything happens in broad daylight. And it's a thriller and you're scared and usually
Yeah.
associate that with nighttime. But the fact that it happens all in broad daylight and you still feel like that, I'm like, oh, that's
That's a
impressive.
good point.
Yeah, good call.
Good call.
Great call. Yeah.
Kurt said this was like one of the hardest, he says most exhausting, I should say, film he's ever made, stating that the reason for that is because his character was in a constant state of anxiety and how exhausting that is. Jonathan Mostow's wife, I guess. So there was a screening. Yeah, she overheard. I knew there was something. There was a screening of the movie and Mrs. Mostow was in the bathroom overhearing like some ladies talking about it and that it was just so incredibly stressful. And she was like, great, that's good to hear that's what we did our job, basically, is what her thought was. It's a thriller. But they gave the movie a terrible score because they were stressed out. People are idiots, is the point I guess I was trying to make.
Yeah,
I can see that this wouldn't necessarily be a rewatchable. You're not just going to go, I mean, you'd have to give it a few years, then go back to it like we did here, which was great. But yeah, I mean, honestly, during the final chase scene, or I believe it's actually when he was playing his Indiana Jones move underneath Red's truck, when he got on board and was underneath it and then on the side of it, I caught myself tensed up. My body was tensed up. I had to relax. I had to make myself relax because I really got into it. It's because you see him hanging on. It's kind of, I'm going to make another reference here. It's Keanu Reeves underneath the bus in Speed when he's using the screwdriver to hang on when he's underneath. And you just kind of automatically, your muscles tense up because now I'm in the character. I'm in his shoes again going, I got to hold on. I got to hold on. If I let go, I'm roadkill. I'm dead meat. The wheels, I'm going to go under the wheels. And it's the worst death.
Yeah.
Like, I know I'm terrible scenario. So it is stressful. And it's like, okay, I don't need to see this right away again. So I can understand people being upset by it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
But it's effective. So effective.
Yeah, I think even for me, now being married, watching this and thinking, running, like side parallel scenarios, asking me, what would you do? And I'm like,
Yep.
crap, I'm here I am. I'm probably making all the wrong decisions also. It adds that undue stress also, like a scenario that, God, hopefully it never happens to me, but you run that scenario all the time. Like even Jason and I talk about like movies with kids. I'm like, okay, when I saw this movie, I didn't have kids. Now I have kids. And now, the stress of thinking about that from a dad's perspective. So even watching this now, being married, and okay, well, what would I do in this situation? Adds even more stress on. So I can kind of see what those ladies were saying, but I still would have given it a good grade.
Yeah. You guys bring up a good point about, and this is what comes up a lot on our respective shows, is that our perspective of watching a show when we were a kid, and then we have these fond memories of how awesome it was, and then you watch it as an adult, and you're like, you see it from a completely different angle.
Yeah, especially just the top of this episode. Just you talking about the music, and there it was. That's in your wheelhouse. For us, we were a little past that at that point. That wasn't necessarily the stuff we were listening to at the time, but for you, it was a big deal. That's what you and your friends were listening to. We were still trying to carry over stuff from before. So yeah, it's always amazing. We talk about like how impactful a movie can be because of the scenario in which you saw it on. Did you see it in the theater? Did you rent it with some friends? Or, how old were you when you saw it? Because you think about movies that you like that other people, I didn't like that. But then, maybe they were older or, it just, there's just so many factors going into the movie experience that you do not think about until maybe you revisit, go back and watch it so many years later. And you're like, oh, okay, now I get why people like this movie or why people didn't like this movie. So yeah, this definitely falls into that category. How I had a different feeling watching it this time than when I did the first time. Both times I liked it, but yeah, there was definitely it brought about different emotions.
The last bit of trivia that I have is that apparently there was a cut scene where in the script, there's a scene after the final scene with Jeff and Amy back at the farm talking to the FBI. And the film finishes with a line by Amy. She says, "Next time we fly." And it was dropped because it was deemed out of place. Like maybe a bit too comedic or something.
I would agree with that. Leave it out.
I totally 100% agree. When this movie ends with them holding one another after the entire truck on truck incident, I guess you could say, at the end on the bridge, and it kind of, the camera is pulling out, I knew that the movie was ending right then, and I was like, perfect, stop right here, end it, that's it, that's all you get, that's all you need, we're in, we're out. And that was a thrill ride. The roller coaster came to a stop, we're done, get off the ride. Perfection. I was like, thank you. That's what we need. We didn't need to know the backstory of these characters, all their lives and all these intricate things about their relationship or whatnot. These filmmakers knew what this movie was, what genre it was, what it was about, and they killed it. They nailed it. And
great point.
It's really smart with the great performances. Again, the less is more. So there's another example. Don't need that final scene to be done.
Because you do that fist pump when you see Red's demise. I mean, it's excessive, but yeah, that's how you want to leave. Yeah, they got that bastard, and then you think about it. Holy crap! They dropped the truck on him. That's freaking. That's not a way I want to go.
Jason, you saying that we didn't need their backstory and all that. It's so interesting that you say that, because I was reading that originally they did have a whole bit. I don't know if it was a scene or two of their backstory, and they were like, no, we just start with them in the car. We don't need it. So, yeah.
It's an interesting thing. Bill and I have done our share of writing. And when you're doing a story like this, you think about how does it serve the story? And I love character background. I love world building. I like to get into it. I'm big into it because for me, it fills it out even more so that I know exactly why characters are making the choices they're making, because I have a full life developed and written. Do we need to know that as an audience? No. I know someone like Aaron Sorkin, not like a huge fan of that, I've heard. But I get it. I need to do that work for myself. That's my own propensity for that. But for this type of story, it doesn't serve the story in any way versus save that for the TV show, for breakdown the Netflix series. If you want to get to know, if you want to really become invested in their marriage, and thus, that affects their choices they make as to what if they really had marital problems. They do touch upon that. I think JT Walsh brings it up, right? Or no, the sheriff does. Did you have an argument with your wife? And then immediately is like, what does that have anything to do with it? Well, that's it. That's all you need,
Yeah.
That's a ringing endorsement for the movie. If Jason says he doesn't need more backstory.
Yeah. And
that means this movie works.
And I have to say, any movie that starts with a couple in a car, we did a short film ourselves called Desolate Road that deals with this and what do they talk about and how do we make it interesting. One of my favorite is the opening of a film called Jeepers Creepers with a young brother and sister in a car. And we get a little bit of we get to know them. We're like, oh, okay, brother and sister. Okay, this is their relationship. They may have a little antagonistic moment here or there, but they love one another. They care about each other. That's it. And it gets right to the horror element within 5 minutes. Boom, we're in. That's what this movie's about. I love movies and that get the setup right. Let's, and get to the action, if that's what it's supposed to be.
I love that. That's good insight. And to your point, Bill, an endorsement from two filmmakers. So to that point, I want you guys to tell us where we can find more of you and your work. I couldn't thank you enough for joining me today to relive 1997 and this thrill ride breakdown. Where can we find you?
Who's going to break it down? No. You can find the All 80s Movies podcast by going to our website at all80smoviespodcast.com. You can listen to us wherever you get your podcasts. And you can find some more information on TikTok at All 80s Movies Podcast or on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Podcast All 80s. And I don't know if I'm missing any other social. We're on Facebook as well. Bill is great with all the social media posts, a lot of things, all 80s pop culture, movies, throwbacks, anniversaries, birthdays. It's all fun stuff. And on our website, you can find some games and things like that. We cover everything from, the blockbusters, flops, everything in between. We hit those smaller films and we talk a lot of nostalgia and have some good laughs in between. So that's it in a nutshell.
Yeah. Season 4 episodes every Friday.
It's great. I highly recommend their show, you guys. And thank you all for listening or watching. Have you provided that review yet? If not, this is your final reminder. Until next time, be kind. Rewind.